quite a view. What do you think? Frank Slide over here. Now, you may wonder, Frank Slide, you may heard me refer to the mountain. It's called the Turtle Mountain. So you may wonder why is it called, or why is it not the Turtle Mountain Slide?
Hey folks, Kass here, and today I got a story to tell. It is a story of 90 seconds of destruction. Now more than 120 years later, the scars are still visible and will be for many more centuries. It is a story about Canada's deadliest rockslide in the Crowsnest Pass. We will start with some old pictures and the story of this disaster, then show a couple instruments to monitor the mountain that still moves these days, and go for a hike later on to show you the full scale of the devastation and which part of the mountain is suspected to fall next. At the beginning of the 20th century, people had every reason to be optimistic in this area, as coal had been discovered at the base of Turtle Mountain in the 1900s. The Canadian and American Coal and Coke Company was established in the honor of Mr. Frank. A town started to be built and expanded. However, the native people of the area refused to live and camp at the base of the Turtle Mountain. Something just made them uneasy about this mountain, and they called it the mountain that moves. However, a lot of the new local residents did not put much stock into the legend. After all, how could a mountain move? Little did they know how unstable that mountain really was. But then, on the evening of April 28, there were cracking sounds and some rumblings to be heard coming from the mountain, but it was assumed to be from the coal mines at the base of the mountain. Then, the same night, now April the 29th, 1903 at 4 a.m. in the morning, men and freight train were working at the base of the mountain. The rumblings got really intense, with the miners in their mine really noticing something was not right. The engineer of the freight train at the base of the mountain asked two of his brakemen up on the train, as he wanted to leave right away, not knowing what was going on, but he had the feeling something was not right. Meanwhile, in the town, people were woken up by intense shaking at 4:10 in the morning, with animals being very restless. Nobody could see much as it was so dark. Little did they know that 90 million tons of limestone rock just cracked away from the east side of Turtle Mountain, roaring down the mountainside towards the town, blocking the Gold Creek River before slamming into the east side of the town of Frank. The slide only stopped when it slammed into the opposing mountainside. Within 100 seconds, part of the town was just gone. The dust cloud was so intense and charged up that it actually created its own lightning. Some people miraculously survived, but many others were not so lucky. They got buried in the house and bed they slept, under many feet of rock, never to be found again, or for others being able to have them removed. The miners, if you wonder, that were inside the mine at the base of the mountain survived and eventually managed to dig themselves out. There is not much left of the old town these days. An old fire hydrant is about all that remains. I don't know about you, but for me it feels strange, walking on some of these rocks, knowing there are people and houses buried for over a century, never to be found again. Now, let's put on our geologist hat and see what instruments they use to monitor the mountain these days. Not that I'm able to move these massive concrete blocks you're going to see here, but just me putting pressure on is enough for the instruments to notice a difference.
So let's start with the crack meter. That's no joke. Look at that, it registers this device if they move closer or spread apart. It shows here, and that's what they have mounted all the way up in the mountains, or actually on Turtle Mountain, amongst others. The next one here is, you see picture again, it's mounted, that's the tilt meter. If the rock face, the rocks do tilt one way or another, so if I just push here, you see the spike and where that's going to show. So I'll pull again. So this time I pull. Last time you see when I pull it goes down, when I push it goes up, and then whatever these numbers mean. So, and then the last one is I think that's maybe what they use for earthquakes too. The vibration. So I just walk, you just see a little bit, but if I do, you see the big spike here. That's just from me jumping on a concrete slab, and that shows what's up in the mountains as well. So just give you a bit of an idea how they monitor mountains and earthquake areas, I guess, these days.
All right, now let's go outside and show you a few things and the scale of this disaster.
So, Frank Slide Trail. Wow. Quite the destruction here, and that came down.
Still a bit later in this video, we're gonna go closer to this actual slide, so we will see Gold Creek, and I can also point out where the old town of Frank, or at least part of it was, and also point to the peak on the mountain that moves, Turtle Mountain, which they suspect is gonna move next.
Massive amount of rocks that came tumbling down, huh? I think these numbers here can have a booklet, that's 2, and it kind of gives you some extra information about it. And down there we already have the next town again. Not much growing even after 120 years. That's how long ago when this happened. So it's still pretty bare. I'm not sure if you can see me or not because it's so warm. The camera display goes pretty dark. So anyways, we'll switch back and check out the rest. Now if I turn around to the right up there, it's the visitor center. It has lots of information and a couple short movies to give you an idea about the history of this place. And in a little bit, I'm just going to turn around here. In a little bit, we're going to go to the other side of the road. And the old town of Frank apparently was, let's see if it shows up over there, is where you see the green grass patches, and there's a couple of buildings there. That's where the town of Frank was. And then the trees here to the left is apparently where the side of the town was that got devastated. So as you can see, it was right on the edge of it, but it still hurt and killed a lot of people. And I think there's still the old highway way over there, so we're going to head over there in a little bit and check that out a bit. Now apparently, I'm not sure if you can see it from here, but to the left side of these 2 kind of peaks, the slide in the middle, apparently that's unstable again, and they expect that one of these days to come down as well and head more to down the valley then. So it shouldn't be affecting the town. They don't think it will affect the road. It's probably not enough, but you know how it is. You never really know what's gonna let go and and whatnot.
By the way, if you're still with me and watching this video, thank you very much. And if you like what you see here, the scenery, I will have a follow-up video to this one. I don't talk much about the inside again, but it's mostly outside as we walk around and go for a small hike. So if that's something you like, well, perhaps subscribe.
Mountain in the back. A month from now, they may already have some snow again on the top. Frank Slide over here. Now, you may wonder, Frank Slide, you may heard me refer to the mountain, it's called the Turtle Mountain. So you may wonder why is it called, or why is it not the Turtle Mountain Slide? Well, because the town, the valley that got partially covered, where some people lost their lives about 122-ish years ago, the town was called Frank, and actually there's still a town called Frank, it's just a bit further back. But so they named the slide after the town and not after the mountain, by the way. Just have a little gap in the valley, that's actually where the main highway goes as well, and Crowsnest Pass, and then eventually into British Columbia out of Alberta. And some of our Chinooks, if you know what Chinooks are, if you don't, well, let me know in the comment and I gladly explain this a bit more then, but that's where the winds are coming from, and that gives us the temperature fluctuation from -20 perhaps within a few hours up to +10, something incredibly insane actually. And of course the winds can be very strong, they can be 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers, or even stronger. Here we are, right in the path of Turtle Mountain. You see the river down there. The town was actually right over there in these trees, well, the edge of the town. We are on an old highway, that was the original highway, and the train was back here as well. And back here as well was the entrance to the mine shafts. And of course the river got a bit dammed up too back then. But the main story is this huge mountain here, Turtle Mountain, that came down on the town of Frank. And that peak right up there is supposedly all full with instruments because it's a bit unstable, and one of these days it may come down too, and they hope it goes more this way then. But anyways, here we are, 123 years later.